10 minutes, but it's flexible. Okay.
Well, my comments are yes. Yeah. All right. My comments generally follow the application, obviously. On page 4 of the application, under pollution and abatement, in the paragraph, enclosed forms and attachment makes reference to the location of a number of public or wells that have been indicated, drinking wells that are part of the public record within a half-mile radius of the facility. I think that it should be noted, for the sake of this application, that in addition to wells, there are a number of springs along Beaver Dam Creek that are a factor. I happen to live at a site where 5 generations of my family have drank water from springs about 20 feet from Beaver Dam Creek. So this whole drainage basin needs to be evaluated in terms of quality of the stream with a lot of respect for the springs and the underground water flow. So I'd like to request that in your consideration, not only wells, but also springs should be addressed. On page 6 of the application, there's a statement under sedimentation ponds. Pond number 1 indicates that one of the old existing ponds that was used when the previous operations were occurring there is going to be used as one of the detention ponds or sedimentation ponds for this operation. That brings up a point that I'm most concerned about. And all the old tunnels, a lot of you know more about this than I do, but there are tunnels at this site that extend hundreds of feet back into the limestone area. And the sediment or the content of these tunnels is something, from what I've been able to read or observe or discuss with anybody who's looked into this, has not been chemically or biologically analyzed. I'm talking about not only the water in these tunnels, but the sedimentation in these tunnels. These tunnels act as a sump for the whole area around this limestone formation. They're back into the rock. They're basically horizontally cut into this area. They extend back to the west. Less than 11,000 feet from where these tunnels are, and I say less because these tunnels extend back to the west and reduce this distance, is the Schrader site. And the Schrader site is an obviously well-known environmental disaster in Dixon County. I mean, for us to go into this process and not analyze the water in these sumps and the sedimentation of these sumps is ridiculous. We live in a county that's already paying extreme amounts of money for favors to do this at the landfill. Why should we do it again? When we start doing blasting around this rock, it's going to fissure the rock. It's going to release whatever's in these tunnels into the groundwater. We all know that. I mean, it's very obvious. What it's going to be, I don't know. And I'm not an alarmist. I'm not angry about this. I don't know. But I think it should be thoroughly analyzed, evaluated, and proven that it's not a problem. And I don't see that that's being done. I'm going to try to be quicker with the rest of my comments. Turn the page up. Okay, on page 8 of the same application, under raw materials and processes and products, my assumption is this is just a typo, but it says in the area of the taking care of the dust and whatever, there's a statement here that says the limestone dust is controlled using WEST, W-E-S-T, suppression in the plant and water trucks in the yard and haul roads. My assumption is that's supposed to be wet suppression. Is that correct? I don't know what west suppression is. Is it riding horses in? I mean, west, okay. I just want to clarify that because I didn't know what the west suppression was. Let's see. On One thing that I'd like to ask you to clarify for me, I've talked to some other quarry operators in the state, Rogers Creek for one, and others. And they tell me that it's rare that they've been issued a permit without a reclamation plan. And I understand there's no reclamation plan in this application. I don't really understand that, so I'd like you to address that before the hearing's over, if you would. My concern about this, what happens to the site for the long term, that according to what I've read in the permit, the initial duration of your permit is a 5-year duration, is that correct? So let's say 5 years down the road that water quality standards change and the developer is no longer able to meet the water quality standards of this site. I mean, that's very arbitrary. But what if that happens and he says it may take him 15 years to do the quarry operation that he initially says he's going to do? What if in 5 years he can't meet the water quality standards? Is there any reclamation? What reclamation occurs? What happens to the site? And my other question is, and I'd like you to address this also before the night's over, once this permit is granted to do the mining, is there anything that says that over time, this becoming a successful quarry operation, that it can't be extended to become the same kind of quarry we see everywhere else around, generally with pits and what have you? Anything that limits or prohibits this permit from extending into that kind of operation? And that's all I have to say. I appreciate your time and thank you for it.
Thank you, sir. The permit does require there is a termination process, and we will not terminate coverage under an NPDES permit if there are any pending water quality problems. The site has to be stabilized. This is basic procedure in the issuance of these permits. The permit, if it seeks to be expanded beyond the 5-year period, they have to go through this process that we're going through tonight. They have to submit updated plans, revised plans, if they seek to extend the permit beyond 5 years. There's a normal procedure. We go through public notice, same thing. Okay, Mr. Jerry Baker, you're next, sir.
You got the letter that I gave to you this evening.
Might hold it in the container like that. Yeah, I'm sorry. A letter of apology for loss.
We can't find you. Sorry. That's the very thing I didn't look for.
I just have a letter here I'd like to read. This letter was given to me this evening by a citizen from the city of Burns. It's dated January the 11th, 2011. It says, to whom it may concern. I cannot come to the meeting tonight about the quarry at Underground City, located on Underground City Road or Limekill Road, whichever it is named now. However, I do wish to make a statement concerning the quarry. The property under discussion has long been used as a quarry for at least 100 years or more. I know that quarrying was done on West Iron Hill Road for decades on property owned by the Nolan family. Also, there are other such operations in Dixon County. There is a need and a demand for quarry products. I use gravel on my driveway, and it is used in most construction done in our area and around the state. Also, it produces money through tax for our county, for the city of Dixon, and for Burns. I know that some fear environmental problems from the operation of this quarry, but to my knowledge, no significant environmental problems have been created by this or any other quarry in Dixon County. Also, Tennessee has very rigid laws and regulations monitoring this type of operation and would quickly stop and have any environmental or any other problem resolved by the operator and owner of this quarry. I fully support the quarry, which has received all permits and licenses required by the state, and have made inquiries about its operation and have concluded that this business is operated in a very professional manner. Allow the quarry to operate. This is sincerely Mike Bateman from 107 West Circle Drive in Burns.
Okay, thank you. Next is Cheryl Mathis Vance. Is that right, Cheryl?
Backhoe.
Okay, sorry. Backhoe.
I know, you voted for it.
Let's do civil, please.
It's fine. First of all, I'd like to thank our city commissioner, Mr. Baker, for coming up here and reading one of the comments. I think it's very noble. Our city council came out tonight to support the cause. Thank you for you people that were able to make it out tonight. The first thing I would like to say to TDEC is that we had fielded many calls today from people that wanted to come to the meeting, but because of the weather, they were afraid to. Many of them over 60 years old, and we have personally told them to stay, to stay home. Don't feel like it's worth their risking their life to get here. I think we've talked about that.